Welcome to Surviving the Dream with your hosts, Casey Arnold
and David Conley.
We're here to talk to people who seem to have their dream job and find out, what did it take? Is it what they imagined? Is it worth it? How do they do it?
Join us as we uncover the secrets of surviving the dream.
Hello, Casey.
Hi, Dave.
Here we are, just surviving. Hopefully
just
dreaming.
Surviving.
Yeah, just surviving. Let's get some. We've got a special guest today, as we always have a special guest, but this one.
Everyone is special, Dave.
This one has to survive quite a lot because he has to survive with me punching badly because he's a boxing coach, but not. He doesn't just coach Muppets like me. All right, he actually has coached pretty good professional boxers like world champions. He works at the Wild Card Gym with the one and only Freddie Roach. It's the one and only Dicky Ecklund Jr. is in
Amazing.
The house.
Thank you for being here.
Of course. Good to be here, guys.
I know we have to get to the real stuff, but at some point I'm going to have to understand, how do you take a punch? I've never been hit. I'm happy to say, I hope that is a thing that goes on with life, but it seems like a thing that would be helpful to know should it ever happen.
I love that's how you start, is how do I take it?
I know. I'm sorry. I made it all about me. Your dreams are also important.
Yeah, but you want to know, like, how do I take it? On the chin. Wow.
Well, because looking at you, right? Like, I feel like if you picture a boxer, like, you don't look like you've been hit, so you must know how to avoid it.
That's why he's got a big beard. There's so many bruises under that beard that you can't see, right? He doesn't care.
That's it. It's all a facade.
So if you can grow a big beard, Casey, you'll be fine. You can take as many punches as you want.
Cool.
All right, Dickie, tell us, how do you he's never told me how to take a punch. How do you take a punch?
I mean, to be honest, there really is no secret to taking it. You can either take it really well or you can't.
Well, I think I know which camp I'd be in. So, all right. I'll continue avoiding it. Or maybe I've actually been to the gym once with a friend who is...
in your life? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean like the boxing gym where he works. I went there once and with a friend who works out there, got my ass super kicked. And but maybe I should go back again sometime and have someone like lightly tap me where it would be just for the sensation of it. I don't know. I don't know why I'm taking it this place. It's late in the day. My mind's in a worse place.
Yeah,
let's rein it in, Dave. Help me out.
Yeah. We're about winners, not losers on this podcast. We don't have to take the punches because we're the ones giving them, Casey.
That's right.
Dickie, where did it all begin for you?
I mean, boxing in general, it's been a part of my family and my blood, multi-generational and all that stuff like that. I was basically born into a boxing family. My dad taught me how to box when I was 3 years old. He was a professional boxer, Dicky Ecklund as well. My uncle, his brother, was world champion Micky Ward. They made a movie about them called The Fighter. That's Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. They did that movie. But cousins, my grandfather, everybody in my family, just the whole nine, they all box. So it's kind of like you need it to be in my family.
Did you have a good fight at Thanksgiving? Did everyone say, all right, let's just do it?
Oh, yeah. You gotta practice what you preach.
See, you got to learn how to take a punch in your family. Not, in fact, the most ridiculous start-off question.
We learned.
Do you think if you would have been born into a different family, you might have been interested in something else?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely it's my world anyways. But like, even my fiance will be like, geez, enough with the boxing, because I'll be there all day. And then my pleasure is I come home and I'm still watching fights. That's like even in my free time. So no matter what, it's just something that revolves around me.
That means you really love it.
What do you love about it, Dickie? What is it that you love about that? I mean, you obviously do. And I think that gym is a very special place.
Sure.
Because I see that everybody there just loves it.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I mean, as you know, just being at Wild Card, I mean, boxing for one, I mean, combat sports, it's just, there is no right or wrong way to do it. There is no right person. There's no mold. I mean, you see at the gym, there could be the biggest out of shape guy hitting the bag on one side and then a professional boxer on the other side. Somebody that's super
You talking
loud.
about me?
That's it.
Wow.
That's all you.
Got a bit personal there, isn't it?
Yeah. Like every walk of life, like enjoys the sport in their own way. And yeah, just me personally, like just the sweet science of it, it just fascinates me of like how to make somebody better, how to create strategies against opponents. Like there's just a million different ways to win a fight. And there's also a million different ways to lose a fight. So just trying to find that balance to create the best boxer you can it's always just like really enlightened me.
Is that an individual thing, like based on like what their style is or who they're up against or their strengths, or what do you base that on?
Yeah, I mean, they have the classic saying in boxing, styles make fights. And like, it's 100% true. You're not going to teach somebody the same exact ways you teach the next person. Everybody has their strengths. Everybody has their weaknesses. And that is also for their opponents. Something might work that you did with somebody, but it might not work against that same opponent. You know what I mean? So it's always trying to give and take and see what works. But in a game of inches like that, your coach and like my role or Freddie's role, we have to make sure that we eliminate any unnecessary risk. So it's very strategic.
And when you're working with champions, which you have done, is there a similarity between them, or are they all completely different?
There is the similarity for like for work ethic and definitely being moldable and listening to their coaches and stuff like that. I mean, you have freak talents that they don't need to work as hard and they can get away with it. But I feel like in the long run, it always kind of catches up to you. There's a million different differences. Like somebody could just be a freak with power. Somebody could be a freak with speed. Somebody's IQ could be. But I've seen so many champions not have the hardest punch or the quickest hands, but they can outthink somebody and be more defensive. So they all have kind of their strong suits. But I would say like the championship mindset is definitely like you see, that's something that is real in the ring. When you see somebody that's like actually really successful, they show up day in and day out and they give 110%.
What's the hour input like for something like that? You know, are they in the gym like 10 hours a day? Are they?
So for boxing, MMA might be a little bit different because, I mean, we train a lot of MMA guys at the gym as well. They have a couple different disciplines, so their days might stretch out a little bit different. But for boxing, for instance, like, if you're in camp, a camp could be around 8 weeks. And during that camp, say you have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, those mornings are designated towards sparring. That's when you're going to spar someone that is almost or trying to be almost like your opponent. So if you're fighting a lefty, we have to bring in lefty sparring and do all that stuff. And then those rounds will go as many rounds as you're supposed to fight. That will probably last about 2-3 hours in the morning. And then you'll go home, rest, heal up. And then you do like a strength and conditioning circuit at night with another coach, building your power and speed and stuff with, you know, like weights and calisthenics and all that stuff. And that could be another 2 or 3 hours. So.
And the nutrition as well, I presume, because of the weigh-ins and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And thankfully, like nowadays, they've become to a really good science with that type of stuff. Like you have a lot of people that are walking 30, 40 pounds over their actual fight weight, like 8 weeks out. And you can lose up to 10, 20 pounds in a week before the fight. So like nutrition is huge. You got like water fast and all that stuff like that. So, but you got to do it the right way because you don't want to drain yourself and become weak.
I was going to say, what about the energy? Because what I would be worried about is like if you're draining yourself of water. I mean, I can feel it when I'm dehydrated. I don't feel mentally as fit.
Yeah,
I don't feel as physically as fit. When
you're really starting to cut the water, nobody really recommends that until it's the week of the weigh-in. You're trying to stay as healthy and as hydrated as you can the whole camp because, again, you have to spar, you have to take shots, you have to be as close as you can to 100%. But the last couple days before you weigh in, you'll see a lot of people really try to get as much water out as they can. And that's like the sauna and hot baths and all that stuff like that. But you can't take too much out because it's not good for your brain either.
And then how do you put it? Do you have to put it back in straight away afterwards?
Oh yeah. That's one of the most fascinating things is you'll see them lose all this weight, and then they only have about 24 hours to gain as much weight as they can, healthy weight as they can back. So you'll see people put on 20, 25 pounds in a 24-hour period. Yeah, easily.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. I need to talk to this nutritionist.
Yeah. You just got Casey's attention now, Dicky. Let's go.
What?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So how do you do that? Let's answer the question. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I touched on losing it. I mean, losing it kind of happens over time, over that week. And again, that's in a sauna. You got things like creams, like Sweet Sweat, like old school movies that kind of have like a trash bag over you, something like that. Now it's like a sauna suit with plastics and everything. Like anything you can do just to heat up the body and then keep that core temperature as hot as you can. But
you know that this time next week I'm going to be doing a podcast and Casey's going to be sitting there with one of those suits on. I'm going, what are you doing?
I'm just trying a new thing. I'm just testing it out. Yeah. I'm training. I'm getting down to my training weight
and podcast weight. So you're doing all that, and then how about putting it back on?
Yeah, I mean, so the refueling is even more important because you got to do it the right way. And as soon as they step off the scale, I mean, we're handing them things like Pedialyte, Gatorade, coconut water, anything like that, because hydration is key first. So they're not really eating a big meal right away. It's just mostly liquids for the first hour or so until their stomach kind of settles. And then for the next 24 hours, you're just kind of putting in as many healthy proteins and fats and carbs. So they haven't really been eating carbs for the past week or so. So then when they get their pastas and bread and all that stuff like that, it just kind of refuels them up. But yeah, I've seen people get up 25, 26 pounds overnight.
Wow. Oh, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm. Are you doing like mindset coaching while they're doing this to deal with the weight loss and the putting it back on and like are they not like anxious? Like what if they're 6 ounces overweight and they can't fight the fight and they were so close to making it?
Yeah, no, it's a team effort. We'll have some guys in a bathtub or whatever cutting weight, and you'll have the strength and conditioning coach, myself, another trainer. Whatever. We're kind of all around that bathtub. Like, first of all, you want to make sure it's as safe as possible. You don't want anyone passing out or do anything like that. But it's a fight in there too. That's one of the biggest. Like we always say, making weight is one of the hardest things compared to even the fight. Like, because if you don't make that weight, they're either not going to accept the fight, you get a fine. So that's a very important part. So we're in there definitely making sure that they're reassured.
I remember years ago Mayweather not making weight and just paying this huge fine. But for him, it just didn't hurt him, did it? Because it's like he's so rich. Is there something in that's, I mean, how do we find parity in a sport like this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. This is definitely a sport where fair is definitely not
fair is for judging livestock is what you're going to say.
Another cliche boxing term is A side versus B side.
Yeah.
A side, who the money's really invested in and the public knows, or you know what I mean, they might be the champion already. They're going to get away with a couple more. Like they're going to get away with some stuff that the other guy really wouldn't get away with. Too much to as fair as you can, I guess. I mean, you can't just blatantly cheat, or like some states you can't use an IV, and there's all these other things. But if somebody can't get down to a certain weight and it's around that time and they need we call it buying a pound. Like if you need to buy a pound or two and you're not going to make a certain weight, say 140 pounds, and the guy cuts down as much as he can and he can't get down to 142, he will basically say, I will forfeit 10% of my purse, 20% of my purse for the fight still to go on. And that person and that percentage will go to the opponent. So that's kind of a way that it evens off. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow. What is the trajectory for most fighters? Like, what is the end game? How long can they fight for?
I mean, this day and age, you're seeing, I was just actually watching a study on this yesterday, funny enough. This day and age, you're seeing a lot more people extend their prime into almost 40 years old. I mean, one of the top 3 pound for pound fighters in the world right now, Terrence Crawford, is 38, and he's unbelievable. If I feel like if you would have said that 10, 15 years ago, that's like a fossil in boxing. And it's also about damage. I mean, even me, for instance, I had my first amateur fight at 7 years old. So a lot of these guys are fighting from when they're 7 all the way through hundreds of amateur fights, maybe the Olympics or something. Then they're turning pro, having 20, 30, 40 fights. But you see now, like with the science, like again, nutrition and just taking care of your body a little bit more, they're extending their prime. But again, it's definitely dependent on the athlete and the damage taken. Like you touched on Mayweather. Mayweather had 50 fights and barely took a scratch, just the way he fought and took care of his body and everything. So it could last a lifetime, or you can take a beating in the first couple of years and you know it's not for you, and you see people retire after 2, 3, 4 fights. There really is no number.
No. Wait. Can we go back to your first fight was at 7? Is there like little league boxing? Like what is that? How many people are doing that? Who's going to watch that?
So I don't know if you. It's called the Golden Gloves tournament out here. It's like a nationwide tournament, and it's usually for people in the teenage years, sometimes in their early 20s. But they'll have a special thing called the Silver Mittens, and that's like a smaller version of that, and for like kids and stuff. And so they'll have like a special bout of that, and that's what I had when I was 7. It was like a 50-pound special bout, and they do the weigh-ins, everything. The real fight. It's fun. I still have the tape, and
wow,
that was my first real like amateur fight. Was at 7. Yeah,
just a couple little badasses just duking it out, pre-puberty and everything.
Yeah. I'll send Dave the photo after this.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of intrigued as well. So what made you, like, you're a coach, right? Did you at some point say, I'm a coach more than a fighter? Was that a conscious decision, or was it like, or was that an organic decision?
No, see, you guys said like too, like if I didn't have the family name, would I be doing boxing and all this stuff like that? I went through so many different like peaks and valleys with boxing. Like when I was real young, I was loving it, but then it was almost all I knew again at like 7 years old, fighting, and then getting invited to like the Junior Olympics and all that stuff like that. And I kind of just wanted to be a kid. Like again, I share the same name as my dad. My uncle we're all in the same city. And at one point I was just like, I want to play baseball. Like I want to do these other sports and everything like that. And I kind of took my foot off the gas of even like competing or anything like that. I would still go to the gym. Like I was always surrounded by it just because my family was always into it. But for a while, like I would just watch it as like a fan. I didn't think I was really going to do anything in the sport. And then it wasn't until my dad injured his back. He had back problems all throughout his career and all that stuff like that. He injured it really bad after training my uncle, and he couldn't really hold the mitts as much as he used to. And he taught me, like, just like asking as a favor, like, you know what I mean? Like, can I teach you how to hold the mitts so then you can help out some of my guys? And I was just like, yeah, I'm already in the gym. I was getting more into like lifting weights and other stuff as like, 15, 16 years old. And then I started holding mitts. And I was like, oh, this is actually pretty interesting. Just like working with the fighters. And little by little, I started to like seeing how cool it was working with different personalities, different styles, different weights, all this type of stuff. And I'm like, this is actually, it kind of birthed like a new love of the sport for me. Because I was always under the impression, like, you got to compete. You were born to be like your dad's son, to a protege, and you're going to compete. So then when I realized there was another outlet to still enjoy the sport without competing and doing it like that, I fell in love with it all over again in a different way.
Interesting.
Did your family ever pressure you to be like, no, you've got the name, you've got to carry it on, you've got to compete?
No, surprisingly, my family has always been supportive about it. My dad definitely pushed me in the right, like if he thought I wanted to compete, like he would push me as much as I could, but he never never overdid it where it was like, this is what you're supposed to do. He supported me when I was playing baseball and all that other stuff as well. So, and then when I kind of made that pivot to training, I learned everything from him first. Like, he's even more proud now because he ended his career being a trainer. So I'm kind of still following the footsteps, but in a different way.
And what excites you about being a trainer? What is it that gives you that love? Like now, what is the biggest buzz that you could get?
Training you, Dave. That's his favorite part.
Let's take that off the table. Let's take that off the table and see what else.
But seriously, like, again, wild card boxing is such a special place because of that. I mean, my day is broken up into so many different people that it's always something interesting. If I'm working with like a client, as Dave knows, it's almost like we're working out, but then we're also almost in a therapy session. We're talking about life and doing all this stuff. And then I'm going downstairs and working with the pros. And one of them might have one of their first fights coming up, so they're nervous. Then I'm talking to another guy who has a championship fight coming up, and we're doing strategies. With competing, it's almost like you have one goal in mind. You got to beat that guy, and you're laser focused for 8 weeks on that guy. When you're a coach, it's like you still have that same goal, but it's all these different people that you're still bringing towards the same goal. So it keeps my mind a lot more fresher. I like working on different things at once, and this is like the perfect thing for it. You know what I mean?
I can't think of another sport that is like, I can't imagine going down to Dodgers Stadium and then saying, hey, can I do batting practice with the pros? I can't. I often think that. I think or going to Manchester United and going, can I have a kick around with the first team? I can't imagine that there's another sport like this, that you can go to the wild card gym. And Dicky and me have been, you know, Dicky's got the pads and I'm punching, and right next to me, you think, oh, that's Pacquiao Jr. Or
yeah. It's what makes it, to me, like the most intriguing of all, because it's accessible. You know what I mean? There's not like this closed curtain of being like, oh, I could never do that or whatever. You see people come in all the time and they're intimidated to even sign up. And then a week later, they're rubbing elbows with pros and trainers. And then it's kind of like, it is to me, like combat sport is the most welcoming sport, like by far.
I find that surreal, but it's true, isn't it? I mean, sorry, Katie, you go on.
No, that's fine. I just like listening to you talk. I'm like, oh, do you do any that are like self-defense type courses? You know, or like if women are coming in, or you like, I'll teach you in the ring. But also, let's say you're on a date and something like this happens. You want to maybe punch like this.
Of course.
Come on. I can't be the only woman to have ever asked that.
Oh, no, 100%.
Yeah.
We're there for with whatever you're trying to use the tool for. You know what I mean? Some people just use it as an outlet for anxiety. Some people want to compete with it. Some people use it for self-defense. Some people just want to have somebody to talk to. Like there's endless to do it, but
active therapy. Does anybody ever show up with a picture to put on the heavy bag?
I've dealt with some crazy divorces, and yeah.
Go on.
I guess you really are like a therapist. That's interesting. Would you ever want to be a therapist or something like that without the physicality of it?
No. I think this is a perfect.
There's some bizarre softness though about that particular gym. The reason I say that, I don't find it when you walk in. I mean, it could be quite daunting the first time you see it, but I don't find it a macho haven. I find that everyone is super friendly. The girls are kick-ass. You know that you wouldn't mess with any of those girls. Why is that? Is that because it is such a violent sport that people are going, all right, we better be super friendly here?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for all gyms. I think Wildcard specifically has a very, very unique, beautiful culture that has happened over. This is actually their 30th anniversary this year.
Right.
Wow.
I think, yeah, it just developed over time. I mean, I've been to so many gyms over the course of my life, and it's like, this place is just unlike any of the other ones. I mean, Dave knows, you go over there, there's a German Shepherd tied up in one corner hanging out.
And there's always a rabbit. There's a rabbit.
Oh, there's a French bulldog playing, and then you have, and you could have a 90-year-old woman hitting the bag. Literally, we have 90 people walking around, and then there's just people that literally they don't have, like, they could be a homeless person. They just need an outlet to hang out, and we have all that energy combined, and it just makes for something very, very special. It's different.
Is that Freddie Roach? Is that him? Is that where it's coming from?
Freddie, and there's a reason that me and him get along. I gravitated towards him like he did me. Like, he reminds me of my dad and my uncle and everybody. Like, they will speak to a celebrity the same way they speak to a homeless person. They will speak to everybody the same, and Freddie just takes in anybody. He's never going to say no. So it over the years that has built, like I said, something very unique.
I mean, because we should say, like, if you go to the wild card, Freddie Roach is sitting at the front desk. I mean, again, it's a bit like if you go down to the Dodgers, you're not expecting Robertson to be sitting there going, "Oh, can I sign you in?" I mean, the coach. I just think
it blew me away the first time I went there. I didn't expect it.
Yeah, it's unique. You sort of like going, "Oh, I remember," because I'd see the wild card on the TV on HBO when Pacquiao was at his peak, and it was and it was kind of legendary. And then one time I got invited down there, and this is when I first met you, and I walked in there, and then the first person that greeted me was Freddie Roach, and I'm going, "Oh my God!" I mean, it's a bit like walking onto a movie set, and George Clooney going, "Oh, hi, welcome."
You're definitely not going to experience that a lot of places.
No, I think that's unique. What about the boxing night when I mean, you've been to Madison Square Garden and places like that. What is that like? What's the feeling like backstage? I'm saying backstage like we're comedians, but but I do think there's a similarity in that in the performance. Is it extraordinary, the nerves and the tension?
For sure. I can tell. So for me, overusing the word unique, but I definitely had a unique experience for my first time working with Freddie as the number 2, as his trainer. He invited me to be one of his fighters number 2s, and he was like, "Oh, the fight is at Madison Square Garden." That's funny enough, you just said that, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, I'm expecting to have to start in some ballroom or do whatever, and so it's Madison Square Garden. So I call my dad. The family's up there. So we get to the arena, and again, it's surreal, like being in the backstage of such an iconic arena like that. And there is nerves and everything like that because it's a pressure for the whole gym. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting Freddie's reputation on the line, the fighter's reputation on the line. So there definitely is like a professionalism that you have to have, but it is something that you're soaking in every time. You know what I mean? You're meeting all these people. And me going out with the fighter and then having that quick second of hearing my name, and I turn around and my dad's in the crowd. It felt like a full circle moment. You know what I mean? Like, my dad teaching me all these things, and here I am with the best trainer of all time, and I'm at Madison Square Garden and my dad's in the crowd. So I'm still like speechless of how that's like my first time and as a corner.
That's amazing. Is 7-year-old you like bouncing around being like, "We're here, we made it."
Getting stronger.
Yeah.
Right. Is the Rocky anthem fun for you, or could go with never hearing it ever again in life?
It depends on what day it's playing. Are you aware of the cameras and all that? And like when you're in the corner, I mean, I've seen it. You're talking to the fighter, and suddenly the cameras are in there as well. The crowd. Are you aware of all that, or are you just so focused that you're just talking to your fighter?
No, you're just so focused. Like, people ask me that question all the time. Like when you're like the crowds and everything like that, does it like distract you? And even last year when we were training Jaime Munguia for the Canelo fight, and we walked out to T-Mobile Arena, it's like almost 30,000 people sold out. And it's like when you walk out, that's when you kind of feel it. You feel the energy and the noise, and it's like your heart starts beating. But then when you get in that corner and you hear the ding ding of that first round, you could be at a casino ballroom with 100 people. It's the same. Like, everything else quiets down, and I only hear Freddie, the cut man, and the fighter. Like, everything just kind of zones in, and it's the same job no matter where you are. It really does matter.
And when you're in that corner, are you seeing, like, say it's the first round? Are you going, that? Are you seeing what's going right and what's going wrong? And are you thinking, are you mentally making notes about what to say?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, you're definitely analyzing everything. I mean, generally the first couple rounds are that feeling out process anyways. So I'm still taking the lead from Freddie as I'm learning everything from, again, I have the best coach in the world kind of guiding me right now to hopefully be like him. And it's like, I'm learning every single round, you know what I mean? So the biggest thing I would say is like the chance not to panic. You know what I mean? If you see your fighter get hurt, or if you see something not go the right way, the boxing fan in you, or just like the human being, wants to stand up and scream and be like, don't do that. But you have to be calm, especially when you get in the ring and you're talking to the fighter. You got to think about if it was you in there. You don't want to sit down in the corner and be like, you're losing every second. You fucking suck, blah, blah, blah. Like, you need a calm presence to guide you and like actually be able to speak to you in a way that you're going to listen. So it definitely has to be very calming and reassuring, but still motivating. You know what I mean? You don't want to have an addict and then being soft about it either.
What kind of advice are you giving in those moments, right? When somebody's on, like getting their ass kicked, they're in the corner, but like there's still a chance to turn it around. Like, how are you helping like reset their mind and being like, you're the best. Don't focus on any of that.
There's definitely a fine line. Like I was saying, like, you don't want to be over animated to the point where you're kind of taking away from it. And you don't want to be too soft where they're not focused. You're in their face and you're telling them if they're down on the scorecards, you know what I mean? We need to change this. We need to change this right now. We might need a knockout. We might need this, depending on what the situation is. But you need to drill it into them, like where they are in the fight. If they're down, even if they're ahead, you don't want them to be too comfortable and then take their foot off the gas and get hit with something stupid. So you got to really toe that line of keeping them focused, but not too confident. It's totally dependent on what fight it is, but yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow, I feel like I never thought how much coaches really are like therapists. Like, I almost feel like you either have had, or because of this have like therapist training or like mindset coach training that you have to shepherd that part of it. Like you said, even like there is in stand-up, Dave's cat is walking across his face with his tail, and it's a little distracting.
Yeah, I nearly got knocked out there. Yeah.
Like if you I know in stand-up it's the same, and I'm sure in other things, like if you do a great job at whatever you do, some part of you was a little cocky, like, I fucking got this. Yeah, I don't got to worry. But like you're saying, you could be like, hey, yes, you are, and I'm projecting. Hey, you're doing a great job, but like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. You just try and keep them like in the moment of like one round at a time, and like,
yeah, yes.
Great. I'm ready to be a coach. Put me in.
Perfect way to, and especially with that's a whole other chapter of boxing, is like judges. You don't know there's 3 judges. You don't know what they're thinking or what they're scoring. So you and your fighter could think that you're up, but you don't know. So if it's anywhere close and the fighter looks at you and it's like, oh, even if you think they're winning, like I just said it to some guy in December, you're doing well, but we don't know what the judges are thinking. So stay focused. You could always do better.
So when you're watching a match, like not one of your own, when you're watching one on TV, are you watching it as a coach or as a fighting fan? Like, are you, wishing that the strategy was different? Or are you like, ooh, nice shot?
It's definitely a hybrid of both, especially if I'm a fan of somebody, I'm definitely shouting at the TV almost like I'm in the corner away, especially if they're down or they're losing. I'm kind of shouting the instructions. But yeah, I'm definitely animated. And now that I don't have to be composed and I got a couple beers in front of me, I can jump up and scream, do all that stuff. I enjoy being a fan as well.
What's it like in the dressing room afterwards when a fight is lost?
Oh, yeah, it's probably the closest thing to a funeral without being a funeral. Again, you have to do a lot of reassuring. It goes back to like that mindfulness that you're talking about. I have the privilege of coming from that boxing family, and my uncle, who won a world title later in life, he had double-digit losses. I think he had about 9 or 10. Don't fact check me on this, but I think he had like 9 or 10 losses when he won his world title, which is a lot of losses for this day and age. People after post Floyd Mayweather, they think if you lose once or twice, like your career is over, and that's bullshit, absolute bullshit. So a lot of these younger guys, they'll lose that and they'll be in the locker room and they're crying and they think their career is over. And it's the complete opposite. You can learn from that. You can turn that around. You can be a better fighter because of it. And I have that privilege of saying, like, no, I come from experience. My uncle literally lost time and time again and ended up winning a world title. And now he's like a household boxing name. So like, use this to your advantage, use the motivation, and like just get right back on the horse and keep going.
I suppose we've got to know what it's like when they've won now. I mean, if I've asked that question,
one. One is a celebration for sure. And it's a bunch of stuff that they couldn't do for 8 weeks. They're enjoying some pizza, some beer, some
immediately.
Right away.
I mean, Ricky Hatton was famous for that. They used to call him Ricky Fatten, didn't they? Because he used to just like pound it on. It was amazing the difference between them. And,
like what's the most amount of weight you've ever seen anybody put on in like the downtime of 8 weeks after they win, right? If you could put on 20 pounds in one day when you're supposed to, I can't even imagine what you could put on when you're just pizza and beer in it for 8 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, we always try to tell our fighters, like, enjoy like a week off. Enjoy some time, a week or two just with the family and like relax, but then get your ass back in the gym. Because if we've seen some people take a few months off and we're talking like, 40, 50 pounds I've seen easy. Yeah.
I've always thought as well, like when a fighter gets in the ring, they are at their physical peak, obviously. They are for good reason. It must be weird. Do you not have to wind down a little bit after that? I would have thought, do you just sort of like crashing and stopping going to the gym? Does that happen?
As in, like, when they're after their fight, should they take some time?
What's the advice on that? Is it take a week off? Is it like literally don't go to the gym, or is it like actually just do a little run? It
totally depends on the outcome of the fight and how young and fresh they are, at what point of their career they are. If they're just beginning and they knock somebody out in the first round and they didn't take a single scratch, we would still recommend taking a few days, a week off, just to kind of settle the mind back down, enjoy a little bit of time no matter what. But then if you went through a grueling 12-round back and forth, you might get suspended from the medical department for a couple months, and you can't train or you can't spar and damage the brain and all that stuff like that. So it totally depends on the outcome of the fight. But regardless, we're always asking for at least a few days off, no matter what, just to kind of like settle everything down, enjoy it, think about it, process it.
Do you recommend that they have like hobbies or some other thing in life they love for when they do have that downtime, or to decompress and balance out the physicality of everything? For sure.
I mean, you don't want to just be high strung the whole time. So, definitely have some time. And that's another reason that working with fighters is so fun. You know what I mean? Like, you get some of these people that are like the most badass people on the planet, and then like some of them love just like playing the guitar or paint, doing these random hobbies. So it's always fun to learn what they're into outside of the gym.
Does anybody knit? Because I just really love the idea of a badass boxer just like quietly knitting,
crocheting in the corner.
I've yet to see that one though, but I'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
What is your thing to unwind?
Watching more boxing? No. No, I mean, I've always been into like the creative arts and everything like that. Like, as Dave knows, we've touched on like writing. Like, I love to write and do things like that. I've dabbled into acting and music myself, like a little bit of everything. And again, that's why I like working with multiple fighters, because that's kind of how my brain is. Like, I like working at multiple different things, like that just have a creative mind. But it just depends on the day, to be honest. My mind kind of jumps everywhere.
I recommend some crocheting. I'm just saying. A nice throw pillow with your favorite boxing saying on it. I don't know.
Yeah. It ain't easy. And there was crocheting. So there you go. Well, we are coming towards the end of this podcast, Dicky. So we're going to have to go to the regular questions that we ask you. So what we want to know is, like, if you won the lottery, what would you do? It's a big one.
What would I do? Open up my own crochet business?
We got that.
Lottery. I'm big into elderly people and elderly dogs. And I want to open up a thing called Seniors for Seniors. So if I won a lottery, I'd buy a whole bunch of properties and I would just have senior dogs and elderly people kind of like combine forces, and people would just take care of them.
Aw, I love that. Okay, mine is, what is your go-to snack or comfort food? But now I feel like I need to know, what would be your go-to snack or comfort food when you're getting down to weight? And what would be your go-to snack or comfort food when all bets are off?
Okay. I would say cutting weight, one that you can kind of like really munch on, would probably be like just watermelon, because it's just water based and it's actually still kind of has a little bit of flavor and taste and everything. Off camp, not doing anything, I'm a big baked goods person, like cookies and brownies. Now they have a thing called the brookie, which is both of them combined. So you get me a good those fresh baked, killing it.
I've not had a brookie. I feel like I might need to try one of those.
The best. It's the best.
So what's your favorite animal and why?
A chihuahua.
Oh, so specific. Not even a dog. It's actually a chihuahua. Wow.
Oh, easy answer. Yeah, that's funny. I just got this this for Valentine's Day.
It's a bunch of little chihuahuas. That's funny.
I had no idea that chihuahua was your
Do you
favorite.
have a chihuahua? Is it a specific chihuahua who is your favorite animal, or just chihuahuas in general?
I have two chihuahuas. We've had three, but we lost one. We have two, and there's something about those dogs that just they hold a special place in my heart. They're fucking hilarious.
Their name is also very fun to say, as I said that 4 times, Chihuahua.
Well, they're designed so that when you put your hand in the bag, they bite your hands, don't they? The diamond.
It's all self-defense. My whole world is self-defense.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Yeah. Protect yourself at all times.
Yes.
Okay, final question, Dicky. If we really knew you, what would we know about you?
If you really knew me, what would you know about me?
He loves crocheting.
You're gonna love it.
What would you really know about me? That's good. That you would never know everything about me. I feel like people that have known me my whole life, they're always finding something out. Like I said, I kind of like a little bit of everything. So, yeah, I have a multitude of personalities in the best way. That sounds very schizophrenic, but yeah, you'll never know everything about me.
There's always more to come. Does that mean there might be a dream after this dream?
Exactly. Endless
dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
All right.
This has been delightful, and I think I might have to show up with Dave sometime for a boxing session and see if I can last through it.
Yeah.
Can I test that shit?
6 rounds at the wild card. All right. Thank you, Dicky. We really appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on here.
Right.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Quick shout out to Mike Nicholas for being our tech savior, and Carmen Sclafani, also known as Wiser Time. Thanks for our music. And thank you all for listening.